The Arctic Ocean is vast, with more than 60% of its area covered by an endless sea surface dotted with floating ice. This enchanting natural landscape draws countless explorers. Throughout history, people have been fascinated by this mysterious place at the northernmost tip of the Earth. Many have ventured deep into the Arctic by ship, leaving their traces behind. Among these many expeditions, one stands out: a British team that went missing for several years without a trace. This famous and ill-fated journey is known as the Franklin Arctic Expedition. In the late 15th century, the navigator Columbus, sponsored by the Spanish royal family, embarked on multiple voyages across the Atlantic Ocean. He successfully reached the American continent, establishing communication between Europe and America, and opening an era of European exploration that lasted for centuries. During this time, many outstanding navigators emerged, one of whom was John Franklin. John Franklin was born in 1786 into a wealthy family in Lincolnshire, England, the ninth of 12 siblings. His father was a successful businessman. As a young man, Franklin joined the British Royal Navy and participated in several important naval battles, including those during the Napoleonic Wars. After retiring from the military, his interest shifted to the mysterious Arctic. In 1818, at the age of 32, Franklin ventured to the Arctic for the first time and was captivated by the vast white world. A year later, he led the Coppermine expedition, his first time leading a team to the Arctic. The expedition, consisting of 22 members, set off from Hudson Bay to map the North American northern coastline eastward from the mouth of the Coppermine River. This journey was full of challenges. At one point, Franklin accidentally fell into the Hood River at a waterfall and was rescued by his team members. However, due to harsh weather and insufficient supplies, 11 team members died from cold and hunger. The surviving members lived on lichen, leather boots, and even reindeer droppings under extremely tough conditions. This expedition earned Franklin a bad reputation, as he was dubbed the man who ate his boots. A year after returning from the expedition, Franklin married poet Eleanor Porden, and they had a daughter the following year. Sadly, just 2 years after their marriage, his wife died of tuberculosis. That same year, Franklin embarked on his second Arctic expedition. This time, the goal was to explore the North American coastline between the Mackenzie River, the Coppermine River, and the Bering Strait. With the experience from the previous expedition, this journey went relatively smoothly. 3 years after the second expedition, 42-year-old Franklin married his second wife, Jane Griffin, a friend of his late wife and an experienced traveler. The couple shared a deep interest in the exploration, which strengthened their bond. Franklin is knighted and awarded a fine medal by the French Geographical Society for his contributions to exploration. In 1837, at 51, he is appointed Lieutenant Governor of Van Diemen's Land, a colony in the southern hemisphere that later becomes Tasmania, Australia. Despite becoming a government official, Franklin has little ambition in politics and returns to England 6 years later, ending his brief political career. Rediscovering his passion for exploration, Franklin eagerly looks forward to another Arctic adventure. At that time, popular literary works depict exciting scenes of Arctic exploration, sparking a wave of Arctic fever in society. Many explorers follow suit, heading to the Arctic and creating legendary exploration stories, further fueling the public's desire to explore the Arctic. There is less than 500 kilometers of unexplored coastline on the Arctic coastal continent, and the British government decides to send a well-equipped expedition team to complete the mapping of the entire Northwest Passage. Initially, the British Royal Navy invites navigator Sir Ross, but he declines. They then approach Franklin. In 1845, at the age of 59, Franklin formally accepts the invitation and becomes the commander of the expedition. The British Royal Navy has been preparing for this mission for 2 years. To motivate everyone, they set up 2 generous rewards. The first ship to reach 89 degrees north latitude will receive 5,000 pounds, and the first person to open the Northwest Passage will receive 20,000 pounds. At the time, 5,000 pounds is equivalent to $100,000 today, and 20,000 pounds is equivalent to $400,000, a considerable sum back then. The expedition team members are carefully selected by the British Royal Navy. They plan to send out 2 ships together, HMS Terror and HMS Erebus. HMS Terror is a professional warship, 31.09 meters long, 8.23 meters wide, with a displacement of 325 tons. Initially used as a Navy bomb vessel, it is equipped with 2 mortars. HMS Erebus is also a bomb vessel, approximately 32 meters long, 8.84 meters wide, with a displacement of 372 tons. It is equipped with 2 mortars and 2 cannons. Both HMS Terror and HMS Erebus are extensively modified. Their hulls and bows are reinforced with layers of iron plates to improve their ice-breaking and weather-resistant capabilities. The ships are also equipped with the most advanced technology of the time. Including steam engines from the London Greenwich Railway Company, allowing them to sail at a speed of 4 knots or 7.4 kilometers per hour. The ships carry professional instruments for geological, botanical, and zoological research. The cabins have heating systems to withstand the cold weather, and desalination devices ensure a reliable water supply. They also prepare sufficient supplies for the voyage, including over 60,000 kilograms of flour, more than 16,000 kilograms of beverages, over 4,000 kilograms of chocolate, more than 1,000 kilograms of tea, over 15,000 kilograms of meat, more than 11,000 liters of soup, over 500 kilograms of beef jerky, over 4,000 kilograms of vegetables, and more than 3,000 kilograms of tobacco. Enough to last the entire expedition team for 3 years. As the ships set sail, hopes are high. Franklin leads his team into the unknown, eager to uncover the mysteries of the Arctic and complete the mapping of the Northwest Passage. The expedition is well prepared, and everyone is determined to succeed. But the Arctic holds many secrets and challenges that lie ahead. Based on Franklin's extensive experience, he knew the ships might get trapped in ice, potentially taking until the next summer for the ice to melt. Therefore, they needed ample supplies to survive the harsh conditions, notably, to keep the crew entertained during the long journey. The ships also had a small library with over 1,000 books. The goal of this Arctic expedition was to attempt to open the Northwest Passage and find a trade route to Asia. The expedition was to depart from Greenhithe in Kent, England, pass through Scotland, go by Disco Bay on the west coast of Greenland, then cross Baffin Bay on the west side of Greenland, go through Lancaster Sound, and finally reach the Bering Strait on the west coast of Alaska. On May 19, 1845, the 2 ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, sailed from Greenhithe in Kent. Franklin, aged 59, and his expedition team officially embarked on their journey to explore the Northwest Passage. Captain Franklin commanded HMS Erebus, while Captain Francis Crozier commanded HMS Terror. Franklin was also the overall commander of the expedition. The team included 24 officers and 110 sailors. One of Franklin's deputies expressed before departure that nothing was more urgent to him than completing the survey of the North American coast and opening the Northwest Passage. Everyone set off in high spirits and full of expectations. The names of the 2 ships, which sounded somewhat ominous, seemed to foreshadow the expedition's ultimate fate. The expedition made a brief stop in Scotland and then arrived at Disco Bay on the west coast of Greenland, where they replenished supplies with fresh beef. Many crew members wrote letters to their families. 5 crew members, unable to continue the journey due to health reasons, returned to England with the supply ship carrying the letters. These 5 crew members regretted not witnessing the opening of the Northwest Passage, but fate would prove kind to them, as they would be the last survivors of this large expedition. After the departure of the 5 crew members, the expedition team was reduced to 129 people. They continued along the predetermined route. More than 2 months later, in late July 1845, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror sailed through Baffin Bay and encountered a whaling ship. The crew on the whaling ship recalled that the people on the 2 ships were in high spirits and confident about the voyage. The 2 ships continued westward and disappeared from view. This was the last sighting of them. 2 years passed with no word from Franklin and his expedition. Franklin's wife, Jane, became increasingly worried and went to the British Admiralty to inquire about her husband. However, the Navy had no news to offer. They reasoned that the supplies Franklin's expedition carried were sufficient for 3 years, and it had only been 2 years, so they decided to wait a bit longer. As time goes on, the silence becomes more worrisome. The fate of the Franklin Arctic expedition remains a mystery, with no news from the brave souls who ventured into the unknown. The world waits and wonders what happened to Sir John Franklin and his men, hoping for their safe return and the success of their mission. Another year passed with no news from the expedition. Realizing the situation was dire, the Admiralty dispatched a land search team to the Arctic coast of Canada and 2 sea search teams, one through the Atlantic and the Canadian Arctic archipelago, and the other through the Pacific into the Arctic. After a year of searching, all 3 teams returned empty-handed. HMS Erebus and HMS Terror had vanished. The news of Franklin's missing expedition quickly spread throughout Britain. People closely followed the updates. The British Royal Navy offered a reward of £20,000 for finding Franklin's expedition. Attracted by the high reward and public interest, more than 40 search teams set out for the Arctic after 1848. 6 teams entered the Arctic by land, and over 30 searched the islands by sea. Ironically, the number of ships and crew lost during these searches exceeded the losses of Franklin's entire expedition. Jane Franklin remained steadfast in her belief that her husband was still alive. She independently purchased ships and organized 4 expeditions to the Arctic. Rumor had it that she instructed the captains to follow a mysterious map drawn by a recently deceased 4-year-old girl in Ireland. Astonishingly, the map accurately indicated where Franklin's expedition was later found. Initially, there was hope that Franklin and his crew were alive, trapped somewhere in the Arctic. But as each search team returned empty-handed, belief in their survival waned. 2 years after the searches began, traces of the expedition were finally found. In August 1850, a search team discovered evidence on Beechey Island in the Arctic archipelago. They found a winter camp established by Franklin's expedition in the first year. The camp had remnants of many supplies, including bacon and numerous cans. They also found 3 sailors' graves. The gravestones revealed that the first sailor, John Torrington, died on January 1st of the 2nd year after departure at the age of 20. John Hartnell, aged 25, died 3 days later. The 3rd sailor, William Brain, died on April 3rd. The cold climate had preserved their bodies well, and examinations revealed they died of tuberculosis. 2 years after finding traces on Beechey Island, the Admiralty launched another large-scale search. The search team consisted of 5 ships and 222 people, but 4 ships became icebound. Only the North Star returned, and its captain faced a court-martial, ending his naval career. Later, an American whaling ship discovered the abandoned HMS Resolute from this search and returned it to Britain to improve relations between the 2 countries. In 1880, Queen Elizabeth ordered 4 desks made from HMS Resolute's wood, one of which was given to U.S. President Hayes and is still used in the White House. 2 more years passed before new information about Franklin's expedition emerged. Scottish explorer John Rae, surveying the Boothia Peninsula, encountered several Inuit who said they had met some white men struggling with sleds and a lifeboat a few years prior. The Inuit found over 30 bodies near the Great Fish River. Shockingly, the Inuit recounted signs of cannibalism among the crew. They showed Ray items left by Franklin's expedition, including a Franklin medal, confirming the crew's fate. Ray reported this to the Admiralty, affirming the entire expedition was lost. The fate of Franklin's expedition, shrouded in mystery and tragedy, became a poignant chapter in the history of Arctic exploration. Despite the many search efforts and the eventual discovery of their remains, the loss of HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, along with their brave crew, left an indelible mark on the world's collective memory. The Franklin expedition remains a symbol of human courage and the relentless pursuit of discovery, even in the face of insurmountable odds. The news of Franklin's fate caused widespread pain and shock. Some criticized and questioned Franklin's decisions. Jane Franklin fervently defended her husband's reputation, asserting his immense sacrifice and effort for the Arctic expedition. She enlisted the support of British author Charles Dickens, who publicly supported her and defended Franklin's legacy. Jane bought a small, fast ship, the Fox, and hired British explorer McClintock to lead 25 crew members on another search for Franklin in 1857.
Is he capable of finding my husband?
This time, McClintock's team found crucial evidence. 2 years after setting out, McClintock's lieutenant, William Hobson, made a discovery on King William Island. King William Island is part of the Western Arctic archipelago in Nunavut, Canada. It is about 175 kilometers long and 160 kilometers wide, with flat terrain and an average elevation of 91 meters. On the island's western coast, Hobson found a lifeboat containing 2 skeletons surrounded by scattered bones, hinting at cannibalism. The lifeboat was oddly filled with half a ton of items useless for survival, such as silver cutlery with the Royal Navy emblem, tea, and ammunition, but no food. Hobson also found a cairn containing a logbook handwritten by Franklin's deputy, Fitzjames. The log revealed that Erebus and Terror had been icebound since September 12, 1846. Despite patiently waiting, the ships did not thaw the following summer. Franklin died on June 11, 1847, and command passed to Captain Crozier of Terror. Franklin had hoped for the ship's release from the ice until his final days.
I traveled with your husband, Jane, for several years. I am far from ready to parade him as a dead hero.
2 years later, the ships remained stuck. With no sign of the ice melting, supplies dwindling, and the danger of the ice crushing the ship's hulls, the remaining 105 crew members decided to abandon the ships and march south toward the Back River on April 22, 1848. The log's final entry was dated April 25th, recording the deaths of 9 officers and 15 crew members. The survivors, at least initially, marched towards Fort Resolution on Great Slave Lake, 1,200 kilometers away. They perished en route from cold and starvation, marking the end of the Franklin expedition. For a century and a half, the fate of Franklin's expedition puzzled many. Over 100 strong men, carrying 3 years' worth of supplies and equipped with advanced technology, perished in the Arctic. What horrors did they face? In the 1980s, new evidence surfaced. Canadian anthropologist Owen Beattie of the University of Alberta retraced the expedition's route, leading a team of archaeologists to King William Island. They found well-preserved remains in a stone hut. Tests revealed extraordinarily high lead levels in the bones, up to 228 parts per million, compared to 22 parts per million and 36 parts per million in nearby Inuit remains, indicating the crew's lead levels were 10 times higher than normal. Lead had many uses in the 1840s, but these levels were alarming. Beattie identified multiple lead sources in Franklin's supplies, including lead foil tea packaging, lead alloy utensils, and tinned food. Canned food was a recent invention, and the cans were sealed with a lead-tin alloy, 90% lead. Hastily prepared, these cans often leaked lead into the food. Additionally, the cans were not sealed properly, leaving gaps that could spoil the contents. The high lead levels in the crew's bodies likely contributed to their physical and mental decline. Lead poisoning can cause severe symptoms, including confusion, abdominal pain, and muscle weakness. In the harsh and unforgiving Arctic environment, such a condition would have been catastrophic. The discovery of lead poisoning provided a crucial piece of the puzzle, explaining why such a well-equipped and well-prepared expedition met such a tragic end. It also highlighted the dangers of new technology and the unforeseen consequences it can have. The story of Franklin's expedition remains a poignant reminder of human vulnerability and the relentless pursuit of discovery in the face of insurmountable odds. Beatty's findings suggested that lead poisoning severely weakened the crew, contributing to their demise. This insight slowly unraveled the mystery of the Franklin expedition, revealing a tragedy of human endurance, leadership failures, and the perils of untested technology in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Franklin's Arctic expedition lasted an extensive period, with food supplies intended to last 3 years. However, many provisions spoiled due to improper sealing. After leaving Disco Bay, the expedition received no further supplies. Both excessive lead exposure and food spoilage proved fatal for the crew. The ship's water distillation systems also used lead pipes and solder, contaminating the drinking water. Prolonged lead exposure severely impacted their health, causing weakness, pain, anemia, cognitive impairment, confusion, numbness, mood swings, and loss of self-control. In the harsh Arctic environment, such conditions were debilitating. Furthermore, the expedition faced scurvy due to vitamin C deficiency, exacerbating lead absorption and worsening their health. In 2016, toxicologist John Christensen and her team re-examined 3 crew members found on King William Island. Analysis of their fingernails and toenails revealed zinc deficiency. Essential trace elements are crucial for the immune system. Deficiencies can lead to malnutrition, weakened immunity, and severe illnesses. The crew likely succumbed to tuberculosis, but zinc deficiency significantly affected their health. Extensive research over more than a century has revealed much about Franklin's expedition. In 1845, the expedition set out and initially progressed smoothly. They established winter camps, losing 3 crew members to tuberculosis. By September 1846, Erebus and Terror were icebound. They waited, hoping for a thaw the following summer, but the ice held firm. Franklin died in 1847, likely from consuming spoiled canned food. In April 1848, the remaining crew abandoned the ships, attempting a grueling march south. They succumbed to cold, scurvy, and lead poisoning. In 2008, Parks Canada announced efforts to locate the wrecks of Erebus and Terror. After 3 unsuccessful searches from 2010 to 2012, a breakthrough came in September 2014. Parks Canada found Erebus in the Victoria Strait near King William Island. 2 years later, the Arctic Research Foundation located Terror in Terror Bay off the island's southern coast. Both ships were well preserved, with intact decks and internal spaces. However, their locations were unexpectedly far apart. Researchers attribute this to drifting ice, which moved the wrecks from their original positions. Frequent course adjustments during the expedition also contributed to the discrepancy. The wrecks are now designated Canadian National Historic Sites. In 2018, the UK gifted both wrecks to Canada and the Inuit, managed by the Inuit Heritage Trust. Franklin's legacy endures in modern maritime exploration. The Australian research vessel RV Franklin honors his contributions. A statue of Franklin stands in Waterloo Place, London, and numerous locations bear his name, including Franklin Island in Antarctica and Franklin Strait in northern Canada. Nearly 2 centuries later, Beechey Island remains desolate, with the graves of several Franklin expedition members. A 4th grave belongs to Thomas Morgan, an investigator who died of scurvy while researching the expedition. In 1854, rescuers built Northumberland House from a wrecked ship's planks, hoping for the crew's return. Today, the house lies in ruins, with rusted cans marking the passage of time. Memorials honor Franklin and other explorers, celebrating their bravery and inspiring future adventurers. Human curiosity and the spirit of exploration are boundless, driving continuous quests into the unknown.